floor to the Professor Miryung Kim, Executive Director of the EU-Korea Institute at the Vrije University of Brussels.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before I actually present our project, I would like to thank European Commission for supporting these important initiatives to promoting EU-Korea relations. How can I do this? Excuse me.
Daniel? No.
I'm afraid we have a bit of a technical challenge here. Our project has actually the largest number of consortium members. We have altogether 7 consortium members doing 7 different topics, and 2 from South Korea and 5 from the European Union. And I would like to talk about, for example, the objective of our project. We would like to, for example, raise the level of Korea's awareness of the EU and its institutions and policies, as well as the EU's awareness of Korea and importance of Korea relations, not only to EU's security or prosperity, but also to their future strategic positioning, namely in Northeast Asia, as well as a multilateral level on global stage. And second of our objective is we actually delve into new policy areas that are bilateral or multilateral that would have international impact if the EU and Korea could collaborate and cooperate together. For example, here we're looking at certain issues such as the international security in Northeast Asia, the North Korea, but also non-traditional securities such as the cybersecurity and data protection, and maritime, for example, disputes, as well as climate action and environment. And third, we want to identify constructive ways that EU and South Korea can cooperate, reflecting the current state of relations very well, so as to determine where cooperation is needed with the highest impact achievable at the regional and global levels. So with these 3 main objectives in mind, the ultimate goal of our project is to help deepen the EU-Korea partnership so that new areas of policy coordination and cooperation can enhance the mutual benefits of the both parties. I just want to say something about the image of the EU in Korea, in particular Northeast Asia. For example, as you know, South Korea is heavily influenced by the US, and most of our decision makers or minister, for example, said decision consumers, they are US trained. And then our future generation, for example, Korean students, despite all the Erasmus program we have undertaken within the EU, opening doors for foreign students, still 75% of South Korean graduate students choose the US as their final destination to study. And less than 9% come to the EU universities. So our project, one of the smaller but significant ways to raise, if you will, the profile of the EU in Korea, not only in the decision makers and policy makers cycles, but also in the university, in the research institutes, so the EU will deserve actually the recognition and significance in comparison, in particular with the United States. also there is a thinking in South Korea. For example, South Korea, as significant as it has become, as, for example, Mr. Schmidt and Minister Kim pointed out, South Korea as a nation always needed outside alliance to pursue its strategic and economic interest. Alone in Northeast Asia, it will not be very easy to achieve its economic and security interest. So in doing so, we think that the EU can help South Korea not only achieve its own economic political interest, but in doing so, EU will gain its foothold, probably more secure, the more active role, not only on the Korean Peninsula, but also in the Northeast Asia and multi-level levels, such as United Nations or other climate and environment-related issues. And we are actually not finished there with our project in comparison to other projects. We are continuing our project until the end of this June, and our project topics as follows. We look at EU-Korea relations at two different levels. That is a multilateral regional level where Korea and EU can cooperate and collaborate on equal footing, if you will. Here, the topic is undoubtedly on the Korean Peninsula issue, but we're looking at this issue a little bit different context, in the context of Northeast Asia economic integration, for example. As you know, China, Japan, and Korea are involved in free trade negotiations, and we feel that the issue of North Korea must be considered in that context, so that what role EU can play, if you will, help mitigate the situation in South Korea together with the South Korean government and China and Japan. And second topic is obviously the economic integration of Korea, Japan, and China, and what EU can, for example, help, or what these three countries can learn from EU's economic integration. As you know, the free trade negotiation efforts already started there. And if you actually go to South Korea and China, Japan, you will hear very little about EU except for crisis. And all the newspapers you will see is covering this actually ongoing territorial disputes and tension in North Korea, as well as these upcoming free trade negotiations among three countries. And the next one is, for example, development and economic assistance to Africa and developing nations. This is an area we think EU and South Korea can work together, particularly the EU being such a strong proponent of its foreign aid for the last almost 50 years. South Korea can learn from the EU know-how and capacity building so that Korea and the EU can work together to help develop these important initiatives in Africa and other developing countries. And the last one, which was a non-traditional, if you will, security matter, we are dealing with the cybersecurity and data protection privacy, which is becoming a huge threat to all of us actually involved in the global community. And the next one we are looking at, if you will, the bilateral level issues. For example, undoubtedly FTA and foreign direct investment and economic integration within the FTA. And second one is looking at Korea's, if you will, strengths here, for example, how Korea do R&D and innovation and economic growth to promote its economic activities. So how, for example, EU and South Korea work together to promote the areas where both actually can benefit mutually. And last but not least is important of higher education and training. So we are still looking at these 7 topics. And our consortium partners are, For example, we have two eminent universities in South Korea, Korea University and Yonsei University. And then from the EU side, the Asia Center in Sciences Po in Paris, and then GIGA, German Institute for Global Area Studies in Germany, and the University of Duisburg in Essen in Germany. And then, very importantly, we also have a Business Europe as a contributing author in our consortium. And we have actually accomplished many different activities, but I would like to highlight the two activities that we have finished in the context of our project objective. For example, on the Korean Peninsula security issue, we have organized in May last year in Paris an international conference on the Korean Peninsula security, which was well attended with 300 people in around of Paris. And the second conference we organized in November 2012 in South Korea under the title of Economic Integration of Northeast Asia and the EU-Korea Relations. Here, for the first time, our consortium brought together European Commission with the Trilateral Cooperation Secretariat to discuss what lessons EU can teach, if you will, for future free trade negotiations among three countries in East Asia. And this too was very well attended. Over 300 people attended our conference. And I'm sure the other projects have very strong points and good policy recommendations to be made to the European Union. But two of our actual project strengths is we're looking at, for example, new areas EU and Korea can cooperate. That is, one area is the cybersecurity and data protection. And as you know, in October this year, there will be the Global Cyberspace Conference in Seoul. And our team of cybersecurity and data protection project is led by Korea University Law School. Dean Bang Do-hyung is leading our experts team. And we are working together with the EU institutions, including the Council of the European Union, to be able to provide, if you will, policy advices as well as the policy recommendations so the EU and South Korea can put forward set of agenda for the October conference in Seoul. And we are still continuing our research, and our research results will be presented in June this year in Brussels at what we call the EU-Korea Policy Forum, under the title of A New Global Agenda for the EU-Korea Partnership. And as noted, the cybersecurity and the data protection project will play a very important role because the October Global Cybersecurity Cyberspace Conference in Seoul will be the major global event taking place under the new South Korean government. So we are told that the South Korean government is ready to support as much as it can so that EU and South Korea can come up with very substantive matters in comparison with the Budapest and London conference earlier. And coming back to our June policy forum, we're hoping the wide spectrum of all stakeholders, including business organizations, EU institutions, and South Korean public and private institutions will participate. And if this conference is raising the curtain for 50 years of South Korea, well, EU and Korea relations, our June conference, we hope, will be celebrating the 50th anniversary, almost to the date. I think it is July the 4th, that EU and South Korea signed the diplomatic relations. And we do hope all of us, you will come and actually participate in this important forum in June. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kim.